Well, right, because what compounded the issue was this is right after the Civil War, and there was just a lot of guns that were undocumented and uncontrolled. So you have all these weapons that are just floating around, and MS-13 became arms traffickers, which they say is still a significant part of their income during that time.
No, that's wrong.
You heard about this, though.
No, I know that people. I'm not saying that people had got into armed trafficking or drug trafficking. That's individuals. But in regards to what I saw down there, man, I saw guys, man, that would take a pipe and fucking build a bag with a rubber band to shoot a fucking shotgun, a bullet, because they would fucking build something like that because they didn't have the money for the weapons. Nobody had the monies for the weapons.
Okay.
And gang members being deported did not have money either, right? So there was not an influx of funding, and weapons were around, but there was so much crime happening by other folks, right, that were more established and that had organized bands, that they called it, that were doing organized crime. Gang members were not doing. The gang members became the same shit, and the reasons why they started here was the same issues that started down there. So they weren't into organized crime. But the fact that more killings started happening, right? And then people started seeing that they could use gangs, right, to do crimes, right? Then that's how money started flowing in. And it wasn't everyone, because nobody ate. Some of the gang members will send these kids to go out and ask for coins, man. By the end of the day, they collected all the coins and bought food, man. I saw this with my eyes, man.
Yeah.
What started happening later was that, some people started using gangs, and they will hire them to do crimes, right? So, and then that's in further years, right? We started realizing that even the political parties started funding gangs, right? So a system was established in which gangs similar to here, because you have people that came up to me in the neighborhoods here in Los Angeles that were willing to pay me money to go and commit a crime. Right? So people have always used gangs for their personal gain. So El Salvador was no different.
Well, right, because here you are in El Salvador, you're MS-13, and there is a conflict with 18th Street. So you have, a clique of guys that are with you, and at one point you actually get a couple grenades.
Yeah.
And you're giving it to the little homies, basically. Okay, you guys handle the grenades, because they're used to actually handling.
Well, one was in the military.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
One happened the guerrilla fighter, right?
So they're used to handling this type of firepower.
I never used this shit, man. I'm gonna blow myself off just touching it. Look, man, the reason that happened.
Did they ever actually use those grenades?
No.
Okay.
No. The reason I had that type of protection was because you gotta go back in the political environment during that time. In Chiapas, you had the uprising of the Zapatistas, right? Because of the National Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, right? In El Salvador wanted to also create their Central American and Caribbean Free Trade Agreement. But investors in El Salvador had seen the rise in crime, especially around gangs and other types of crimes, right? That they weren't willing to invest. So now you had El Salvador. Now, crime is not just affecting the communities that they don't give a damn about, but now it's affecting their money for the investors. So it's affecting the rich now. So they need to do something. So what do? They hire some of the mercenaries that used to be part of the death squads in the 80s that were trained by the School of the Americas in Atlanta, Georgia, Fort Benning, on torture tactics. This former U.S. trained, Latin military were rehired to create this, that's what's called the Black Shadow, La Sombra Negra. And they came out publicly making statements. We give you 5 days to stop being a gang member. If not, we'll start executing you.
Right.
And in the process, they have flyers. They threw it. They were really blunt. So what this created was a whole different scene, because for gang members, because I went and talked to them, hey, what are we going to do about this threat? And the gang members said, it's just another gang to us. I said, no, they're not.
Right. This is funded by the government, though.
Yes.
So you have
the
these
rich
government death squads called the Black Shadow.
Yeah.
That were targeting you as well as other MS-13 members.
Well, my name was in one of those lists.
Wow.
Right? So that's when I said, fuck that, man. I need protection, So I was like armed to my teeth, if they were going to come into my home to get me asleep, because that was their MO, jank you out of bed, blind you, take you, hang you, shoot you behind your head, legs tied behind your back. They either hung you naked or they leave you on a ditch, right? That was their MO. And they were taking credit for it.
Well, did you know who Ernesto Daras is?
Ernesto Daras, yes.
Did you know him personally?
Yes.
So they say that Ernesto Daras basically turned MS-13 into more of a traditional criminal enterprise in El Salvador. Now, Daras was a former Salvadorian Special Forces member who was trained in Panama by the United States Green Berets. And he basically used his military training to sort of set up the logistics of MS-13 and turn it into a major entity in El Salvador.
That's not true.
Okay, you've heard the story, though.
That's not true.
You knew him personally, though.
Yes, I know.
Is he still alive?
He was. Yeah, he's recently is fighting deportation.
Okay.
And this brother, was in the military. He did take part of what the military asked him to do. And he served his time. He came up here. He didn't start nothing down there. It was here that he got involved in the gangs.
Oh, okay. It was out here.
It was here.
Oh, okay. But he's from El Salvador. Okay,
Yeah,
got it. He came over here.
It was here that he got involved in the gangs, and he never had that leadership like that. He was known within the neighborhood. He started working during the 94, 93 truces. He also started getting involved in the valley with those truces down there. And from then on, he became a Christian and was living that life, trying to also help his community that he left behind.